Excellencies, dear friends, it is my great privilege to welcome President Maya Sandu, who has honored us with her presence this morning and will address the distinguished audience before the formal start of the ministerial session. Madam President Sandu, please, you have the floor.
Secretary General Alain Berset, ministers, distinguished guests, welcome to Chisinau. It's an honor to open this session here in Moldova's capital. Moldova is a country that spent many years looking towards Europe for guidance, for belonging. Today, Europe meets here in our home. Holding the presidency of the Committee of Ministers has been a responsibility we took seriously. For 6 months, we worked to chair with purpose and contribute to decisions that matter for our member states, for our citizens, and for the values the Council of Europe exists to defend. Today, we hand the presidency to Monaco. But before we do, I want to reflect on why we are here and what we are being asked to do together. The Council of Europe was founded in 1949. Europe was still in ruins, not only buildings, but trust, dignity, institutions. The founders understood something history had just written in blood. Peace is not simply the absence of war. It must be built, maintained, and protected. They chose 3 foundations: human rights, democracy, and the rule of law, not as ideals, but as systems of protection. This organization was therefore never meant to be a comfort zone. It was meant to be a line of defense. For the decades that followed, it worked in parallel with other institutions being built at the same time. NATO provided collective defense. The project that later became the European Union built economic integration and ultimately political union. The Council of Europe provided the democratic and legal foundations, the standards, the court, the accountability mechanisms. All these were a single architecture constructed through different instruments. As a result, countries that had known dictatorship became stable democracies. Enemies became partners, and a continent repeatedly torn apart by war found a durable peace. That achievement is under threat today, and the nature of that threat was made very clear yesterday. Russia launched one of the longest and most massive drone attacks on Ukraine since this war began. 1,560 drones. Civilians were killed. Energy infrastructure was struck. Moldova's own airspace was violated. Russia is not seeking to end this war. Russia is continuing its killing spree. Let us be clear about what we're witnessing. Russia is a state that sends drones against sleeping civilians, that targets hospitals, schools, and power stations with deliberate, systematic intent. Russia is an aggressor. Russia is the most pressing and severe security threat to our continent today and probably for decades to come. The pressure on Russia must not let up. Meanwhile, what Ukraine has accomplished in defending its people and its territory is remarkable. And it has rewritten the doctrine of modern defense. Ukrainian soldiers and engineers have developed capabilities now studied across Europe and beyond. Ukraine has become, in the most concrete sense, a security provider for this continent. Such an achievement deserves consistent, unwavering support. Maximum support for the country defending European values, maximum pressure on the aggressor attacking them. Sustaining that pressure requires more than military and financial support. It requires accountability. Peace without accountability will not hold. Impunity is not a neutral outcome. It is an invitation. That is why it was so important for Moldova to be a founding member of the Special Tribunal for the Crime of Aggression against Ukraine, established within the Council of Europe framework. Accountability has been at the heart of our presidency through the Register of Damage, the International Claims Commission for Ukraine, and the Tribunal itself. Today, here in Chisinau, the enlarged partial agreement on the Management Committee of the Special Tribunal is to be formally adopted, moving it from political commitment to operational institution. Many member states have expressed interest in joining. I encourage every remaining member to do the same. It is a legal and political act that tells every aggressor, today and tomorrow, the rules still apply. The court will sit. Justice will come. Ladies and gentlemen, the battlefield is only one front. While this physical war continues, Russia is simultaneously waging a second one, less visible but equally designed to destroy. It is a hybrid war, a cognitive war, a war waged inside our societies against the way people think, what they trust, how they vote. These two wars are not separate. They serve the same objective: to divide, weaken, and ultimately control Europe. One uses drones and missiles. The other uses illegal money, manipulation, and manufactured narratives. One destroys cities, the other destroys the trust on which free societies depend. Moldova has been on the front line of this second war for years, facing energy blackmail, electoral interference at a single goal: to pull us away from Europe. We resisted, but the threat has not passed. What we experienced in Moldova was not an isolated case. It was a blueprint. The same methods are now being applied across our continent, adapted, scaled, refined, working under the disguise of democratic freedoms. This is what makes the cognitive war so insidious. It does not come as an obvious attack. It arrives dressed in the language of rights and freedoms. Authoritarian regimes that suppress freedom of expression at home weaponize those same freedoms abroad, turning them against the very societies that protect them. Let us be clear: freedom of expression is for individuals, not for fake accounts or armies of bots. Freedom of assembly is not for paid protests orchestrated on Telegram. Freedom of association is not for Kremlin-funded proxy parties. To understand why this matters so deeply, we must remember what our values are and where they came from. Our European values did not emerge from comfort. They are a direct response to what Europe witnessed and endured: to Nazism, to mass killing, to the systematic destruction of human dignity. European democracy consolidated as a conscious, deliberate choice to build the opposite of what had just been allowed to happen. In the West, 1945 was liberation, and what followed was decades of building: prosperity, open societies, citizens who became masters of their own destiny. In the East, where the European project did not reach, dictatorship filled the space. Where integration did not arrive, fear and isolation did. The presence of Europe meant democracy. The absence meant the opposite. The threat to that hard-won achievement has not disappeared. It has changed shape. The Council of Europe was built to fight authoritarianism. That mission has not changed. But today's authoritarianism does not only grow from within, it is exported. It targets not only our institutions and our elections. It targets our way of life, the open, pluralist, right-based societies that Europeans have built together and that define who we are. Our existing tools to defend ourselves, our democracies, our way of life, were built for a different environment. They do not move at the speed of AI-generated disinformation, coordinated foreign interference, or cryptocurrency-funded proxy parties. We need to update the toolkit, and we need to do it now. Secretary General Berset's call for a new democratic pact for Europe is right. Democracies cannot defend themselves within the methods of decades ago, and they must not abandon democratic principles in doing so. What we need is a new acquis for democracy defense, one that protects open societies from external attacks without closing them from within. That means a legal instrument on countering foreign information manipulation and interference. Soft law and recommendations cannot provide the stable basis that sustained international cooperation requires. A convention would establish shared principles, close the legal gaps that FIMI operations deliberately exploit, and structure cooperation between states while ensuring every measure taken remains consistent with human rights and the rule of law. And because the threat does not stop at Europe's borders, such a convention should be open to like-minded partners beyond them. Distinguished audience, the most effective response to those who seek to destabilize our democracies is to leave them fewer targets. Every democracy that remains outside the European family is a vulnerability that destructive forces will exploit. The lesson of the aftermath of the Second World War holds today as it did then, where the European project reached, democracy took root. Where it did not, darkness filled the space. Where it stops short today, gray zones appear, and in gray zones, others decide your fate. Enlargement has been the European Union's most powerful act of statecraft. Every wave extended the area of peace and stability farther across the continent, taking countries emerging from fascism, dictatorship, and communism, and giving them the framework to consolidate and grow. None of them were complete democracies when they joined. The Union did not wait for perfection. It offered belonging, and belonging did the work. The same offer must be extended today to Ukraine, to the Western Balkans, and to Moldova, not as a favor, but as a strategic choice. Supporting enlargement and defending European democratic life are, in the end, the same act of resistance. Moldova and Ukraine have earned their place by choosing Europe under very difficult conditions and defending that choice. We're not asking for shortcuts. We respect the merit-based process, and we are doing the work. But we do ask that merit be recognized and rewarded. Because for us, accession is existential. And for Europe, it is an investment, and it's in its own security. Defending Europe requires military strength and strong alliances, but it also requires defending what Europe is, the open societies, the rule of law, the democratic way of life that generations built in response to a catastrophic war. Just as modern defense has been revolutionized by new technologies, so the toolkit for defending democracies must be updated. Moldova has learned this the hard way. We know what is at stake. We have seen what works. Keep the pressure on Russia and the support for Ukraine unwavering. Build the legal instruments to defend our democracies from cognitive warfare, and extend the European family to those who have already proven they belong in it. The responsibility is shared by all of us. and Moldova is ready to carry it as a member state, as a reliable partner, and as a country that believes with every fiber in its existence that the European project is worth building and worth defending. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President, for your insightful message, testifying to the Republic of Moldova's unwavering support for the core values of the Council of Europe, for our solidarity with Ukraine, and for the vital importance of the accountability mechanism's full operationalization. And now I would like to briefly give the floor to the Secretary General, Alain Berset, please.
Madam President Sandu, thank you. Thank you very much. Your words remind us that defending Ukraine also means defending a certain idea of Europe. A Europe built on human dignity, on democracy, on solidarity, and on the rule of law. Moldova's democratic resilience is also a powerful message for Europe. It shows that democratic societies can resist manipulation when institutions are strong and European values remain a compass. So thank you again, Madam President, for being such a strong European leader.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General. Now the high-level segment concludes, and I kindly invite all the heads of delegation to proceed downstairs. All the rest of the members of delegation are kindly invited to remain here so that we can organize the process swiftly. Thank you.
Dans la telecom. Ainsi, uite. Du-te de jos, de față. Eu fac de aici, tu du-te de jos. Nu, că de jos mă tem că o să-i distorsionez. Eu ne-am luat și am spus așa și... De jos sunt și credios, știi? Da, da. Și distorsionez, da. Mai bine vorba și îi faci mai jocit. Nu pot să nu că deja intre colanii. Se ascunde pe acolo. Vezi camerele sunt cu prietru în spate. Deja intre colanii. Nu mai zic jocit. Камера скрізь, 2 метри. Ну, а ще й камери писати. А ще ти закарив не за лайв, Владимир. А ще камера дала лайв. Ще centimetri pot să mai jos. 5 centimetri mai jos. Sau îmi spune că e așa. Вам spuneați că și nimic. Nu, e tot normal. Normal? Că nu te-ați venit. Nu scuți. Sorry? Я думаю, yeah. It's okay. Nu stoți așa. Vedeți că sunt două locurile bine.
În centru aici este loc pentru vreo 3 persoane. Le așteptăm.
Nu,
Stânga bine. Din stânga bine.
Aparatul jos.
thank you.
Елиберат побора, воров мод. А такой. Нина, вы не меры метров? Или именно по этому?
Вообще, да, но это вообще не требует.
Ministers, Secretary General, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, it is a great pleasure for me to welcome you today to Chisinau for the 135th session of the Committee of Ministers, which marks the end of the Republic of Moldova's presidency of the committee. I have the privilege of chairing our meeting this morning before handing over the presidency to the Minister of External Relations and Cooperation of Monaco, Ms. Isabelle Béraud-Amédée. I'm delighted that so many of you have accepted our invitation. I would like to welcome those following us live in our ministry's website and on the Council of Europe platform. The Republic of Moldova may be a young nation, but our experience has taught us how vital peace, freedom, democracy truly are. In recent years, our society has faced enormous challenges, from external pressure to the consequences of hybrid threats. Yet we have remained firmly committed to our path towards the European Union. Our response has been grounded in transparency, coordination, and civic resilience. For small states such as ours, EU membership is not only a development project and a model of prosperity, but also a guarantee of security. We are less than 100 kilometers away from the border with Ukraine, a country that continues to endure Russia's brutal and unjustified aggression. That is why I'm particularly proud that we are hosting this important meeting here in Chisinau, in a spirit of unity, responsibility, and European solidarity. From the very beginning, the Council of Europe has stood as a guardian of core principles that unite us all: human rights, democracy, rule of law. Today, these principles are being tested more than ever. Yet, they cannot defend themselves alone. I firmly believe that democracy can prevail even under relentless pressure. But democracies cannot stand alone. They require courage and shared sense of responsibility. The world is being shaken by an increasing number of crises. Each of them brings devastating human suffering and tragic loss of life. There can be no hierarchy of human suffering. However, your presence here proves that Russia's war against Ukraine concerns all of us, Europeans and beyond. It's not only a war against Ukrainian people, a nation, but also a direct attack on what Europe stands for, namely our standards and our values. The Committee of Ministers has made it clear that a just and lasting peace for Ukraine must be based on accountability. The committee continues with determination its work on establishing a comprehensive accountability architecture for Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine. One of the key elements of this architecture is a special tribunal for the crime of aggression against Ukraine. In a few moments, the interested states and the European Union will adopt the resolution establishing the enlarged partial agreement on the Management Committee of the Special Tribunal. To ensure the widest possible legitimacy of the Special Tribunal, it is important that other states also join the enlarged partial agreement. The Committee of Ministers remains equally engaged in pursuing its efforts regarding the other components of the accountability architecture. The Register of Damages that caused the aggression of the Russian Federation against Ukraine is now fully operational, with nearly 150,000 claims already submitted to the convention established. The International Claims Commission for Ukraine has been adopted. 35 Council of Europe members and EU have already signed it, and the first 2 ratifications have been notified. This week, Canada became the first non-EU country to sign the convention. Today, we expect 2 further signatures, Czech Republic and North Macedonia, and 3 ratifications, Ireland, Ukraine, and the EU of the convention. Ladies and gentlemen, Russia's aggression does not operate only through conventional military force. An invisible cognitive war is being targeted at our societies through foreign information manipulation and interference, disinformation campaigns, and systematic attempts to weaken democratic resilience. My country's recent experience demonstrates clearly how real and sophisticated these threats have become. Such operations are designed to distort democratic debate, erode public trust in institutions and media, and undermine the integrity of electoral and political processes. Now is time to act. Protecting ourselves against foreign interference and hostile influence also means strengthening our democracies. The stronger and more resilient our democratic institutions are, the more vibrant our democratic life, and the less vulnerable we will be to manipulation of any kind. In this regard, the new Democratic Pact for Europe, initiated by the Secretary General, should help reinforce democratic security. But democratic security cannot exist without social security. It is also a shared responsibility to ensure that Europeans can live in decent socio-economic conditions. Social rights have been central to the Moldovan presidency. The high-level conference on social rights organized in March here in Chisinau concluded with the adoption of forward-looking political declaration reaffirming member states' commitment to strengthening social rights. Investing in these rights is both a moral imperative and a strategic choice for building sustainable, resilient, inclusive societies. Migration remains a complex and delicate challenge for member states. They have to manage migration effectively while maintaining public safety, social cohesion, and national security. In response to calls from several delegations for further action in this area, I would like to commend all 46 member states for reaching agreement on the text of the Chisinau Declaration, which will be adopted shortly. It confirms that the European Convention on Human Rights provides a clear framework enabling states to action in the field of migration while respecting migrants' rights. Our endeavor towards the European Union membership is above all an inspiration for peace, security, democratic consolidation, a robust rule of law, and respect for human rights. For my country and for me personally, it's a path we pursue with conviction, determination, and hope. In this context, we highly value the long-term strategic partnership between the European Union and the Council of Europe, two complementary projects united by the same mission: to protect our common values, promote peace, stability, prosperity across Europe. Ladies and gentlemen, history often offers lessons and at critical moments, the clarity we need to find the right direction. Today, in an increasingly complex and uncertain world, we are once again confronted with a defining choice. We must not allow division and aggression to shape the future of our continent. Instead, we must choose to build a Europe that is stronger, more united, and more faithful to its founding values. And now, it is with great pleasure that I give the floor to the Secretary General, Alain Berset. But before that, I would like to thank you, Mr. Secretary General, for your comprehensive and insightful report on the new Democratic Pact for Europe in times of rupture, which has also been distributed today. Mr. Secretary General, please, you have the floor.
Deputy Prime Minister Popchoy, Ministers, Excellencies, you heard it again and again this past month. Europe is weak. It is too slow, too old, too divided, too attached to rules. And some start believing it. They say if others ignore the rules, we should too. The message is simple. To survive the rupture, Europe must learn to behave like those who caused it. But that is not who we are as Europeans, and it does not serve Europe's interests. Those interests are unmistakable. They are the core of today's agenda here in Chisinau. It is our support to Ukraine, including the work for accountability during wartime and into peace and reconstruction. Nothing, not stalled negotiations, not even conflicts like the war in Iran can distract us from this priority. It is as well foreign information manipulation and interference reaching into our elections, our courts, our schools, our phones, silently, one algorithm at a time. But it is as well migration. When divisions emerge among us, we brought the debate back to the Council of Europe, within the Convention, within the law. And the Chisinau Declaration is the next political step. It is as well the proceeds of crime protocol, democratic security at its most concrete. It is as well our external strategy and our partnership with the European Union. It is a new democratic pact for Europe, a pact for resilient democracies, for rights that hold under pressure, for multilateralism that works, and for the courage to confront what this organization must become. The agenda before us today is redefining Europe's security architecture, an architecture where rights and law are as strategic as missiles and drones. Democratic security is its center of gravity. It keeps power subject to democratic accountability, human rights, and the rule of law. Without democratic security, hard security begins to crack, even when it looks strong. And it leads to only one conclusion. The Council of Europe is a geopolitical force, a force for security and stability, one that Europe is not yet using to its full potential. This force rests on something unique in the world, one legal space, one common legal space, 46 countries, the Convention, the Court, and a system of standards and monitoring that holds it all together. The Court, the European Court of Human Rights, has dealt with more than 1 million applications. Its decisions have changed lives and held governments to account. 3 weeks ago, I was in Ireland. Without the Convention, without the European Convention of Human Rights, there would be no Good Friday Agreement. In Sarajevo, days later, the same reality. The Convention has been central to Bosnia and Herzegovina's constitutional order since Dayton. The Council of Europe has been a stabilizing force on this continent for nearly 8 decades, and it stands ready wherever it is needed. Autonomy without domination, cooperation without submission, security without surrender. This is Europe's common legal space. Member states build it together. It is time to use it as the geopolitical force that it is. Here is what that force looks like in practice. Foreign information manipulation and interference demands a common response. Moldova knows this better than most. A framework convention is the right legal instrument. Make it a cornerstone of our common legal space. And then there is Ukraine, the ultimate test of what this common legal space can do. 3 pillars: the European Court of Human Rights, the Register of Damage and the International Claims Commission, and the Special Tribunal for the Crime of Aggression. 37 states and the European Union have declared their intention to join the tribunal inside and outside Europe. Canada's Minister of Foreign Affairs signed the convention establishing the Claims Commission earlier this week. Accountability is open to the world because international law applies to all, no exceptions, no double standards. Ukraine is the Council of Europe's top priority. We are building accountability where none existed before. And we are placing democratic resilience at the heart of recovery and reconstruction. This is a long-term engagement at a time when the ultra-short term is becoming the norm. Looking around this room, I think of our founders. They too faced rupture. Force had torn apart the world order. Millions had paid the price. But they were not idealists. They were realists who knew that force without law produces only the next war. So they built something different, a common legal space built on democracy, on human rights, and on the rule of law. A continent that chose law over revenge and unity over division was not weak, it was prepared. We have shown that we are prepared in every item on this agenda, in every decision to be made in this room today. Without the common legal space, Europe becomes what others want it to be: a market to exploit, a territory to pressure, a map to bargain over. With it, Europe is a political order, one that sets its own terms. The force of law over the law of force. That is what the Council of Europe was built for. That is what this moment demands. The choices we make here today will define generations to come. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General. We all agree that support for Ukraine is our organization's highest priority and should remain so until the Russian Federation's aggression ceases to exist and until the aggressor bears full responsibility. I am therefore very proud that it is here in Chisinau that we decide now to adopt the resolution establishing the enlarged partial agreement on the Management Committee of the Special Tribunal for the Crime of Aggression against Ukraine. The following are the member states that have expressed their intention to accede to the enlarged partial committee: Andorra, Austria, Belgium, Croatia, Cyprus, Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Iceland, Ireland, Italy, Latvia, Liechtenstein, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Republic of Moldova, Monaco, Montenegro, Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Romania, San Marino, Slovenia, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, Ukraine, United Kingdom, as well as representatives of the European Union, Australia, and Costa Rica. I conclude that the resolution and the related draft decisions are adopted. I would like now to invite my Ukrainian colleague and friend, Andriy Sibiha, to join us briefly so that the Secretary General can symbolically present him with a copy of the resolution that has just been adopted. I would ask you to remain in your seats for a minute or two during this brief interruption. Thank you.
Dear Minister, dear Andriy, today we are not handing over a resolution, we are taking responsibility. The responsibility to ensure that aggression does not go unanswered, that crimes do not go unrecorded, that those responsible face consequences, with weapons where needed, with justice and values where it counts. The enlarged partial agreement is established. More than 36 states and the European Union have joined the Special Tribunal from Europe and beyond. I thank you all. To those who have not joined yet, the door is open. Justice needs you. Accountability cannot be a footnote to peace talks. It must be their starting point. It is the answer to anyone who asks, will my losses matter? Will the truth be told? Will those responsible ever be held to account? So, Minister Sibilla, dear Andriy, this resolution is yours. It belongs to Ukraine and to every country that chooses law over silence, for Ukraine that is free, in a Europe that is safe.
Mr. Chair, Secretary General, dear Excellencies, today is a historic day, and we are making history. Just like the Nuremberg Tribunal 80 years ago, this special tribunal in The Hague will restore justice from the ruins of war. And this is not an abstract idea. Yesterday, a Russian strike on Kyiv killed 24 people, including 3 children. Their relatives are watching this meeting now. We have no moral right to fail. They deserve justice. And today's agreement, officially approved by 37 states and on 3 continents, make justice inevitable. Colleagues, today we have passed the point of no return. The special tribunal becomes a legal reality. Very few believed this day would come, but it did. 1 year ago in Lviv, we approved the political decision. Just 1 year later, we have the implementation agreement. For international criminal justice, such a speed is a true legal record. The moral foundation of Europe and the world will only be restored when the crime of aggression against Ukraine is punished. It is not a matter of the past. It is a matter of the future, a matter of restoring a common space of truth, justice, and trust. It's also about dignity. Putin always wanted to go down in history, and this tribunal will help him achieve this. He will go down in history as a criminal. And now only him, and not only him, Putin, Shoigu, Gerasimov, Bortnikov, Zolotov, Medvedev, Patrushev, Lukashenko, and others. Today, they all got their ticket to The Hague. Many people told us we were dreamers, but this agreement in front of me is not a dream, it's a reality. Ukraine believed in the tribunal from the very beginning, and just in the same way, I am certain we will achieve peace, EU accession, and other goals. Over the past centuries, Ukraine has suffered too many atrocities: oppression, occupation, world wars, genocide, Stalin's repressions, Chernobyl, and other crimes. And we never, I emphasize, never saw real justice. The special tribunal will break this vicious circle. For every soul murdered, for every world destroyed, for every destiny cut short. But today is not the end, it is the beginning. There will be more countries, there will be premises in The Hague, there will be the first committee, and there will be verdicts. Ukraine needs it, Europe needs it, and even Russia needs this tribunal. We are creating an infrastructure of accountability with 3 pillars: the special tribunal, the register of damages, and the claims commission. Let me also emphasize that accountability will never be up for compromise. Justice is an essential element of lasting, comprehensive peace. I thank all of you making this day a reality. I appreciate all of you present here. Special thanks to Moldova, dear Mihai, for your great hospitality and presidency. And I especially thank to the Secretary General, Hélène Berset. This day would not have come without your leadership and courage. Thank you, and let's continue our work. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Andriy, dear Alan. From the first moments of the full-scale Russian aggression against Ukraine, when the first women and children crossed our border, Moldovans opened their hearts and their arms, and we became known a small country with a big heart. And we are happy that we are able to contribute today to cementing this strong foundation of accountability, so that aggressor doesn't enjoy this sense of impunity that they thought they would enjoy. It is incumbent upon all of us to make sure that we deliver on this promise of accountability. And I call upon all the remaining members to join the agreement, and all those that have joined to swiftly ratify it. Because only united we can show real strength, and we can stand up for our values, and we can defend one of our members who has been wrongfully attacked. And sadly, the attacks continues to this day. One of the most horrible ones happening just yesterday. But it is this political will that we are showing here today, the strength and unity, and the strong message that international law and accountability will prevail. Glory to Ukraine. Thank you. Thank you, dear colleagues, for your patience and for having shared this important moment together. Before proceeding with our meeting, I would like to give the floor for a short intervention to Ms. Helen Becker, Deputy Minister of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. Please.
Dear Minister Popsoy, Secretary General Berset, Excellencies and esteemed colleagues, the Netherlands welcomes the adoption of the enlarged partial agreement of the Special Tribunal on the crime of aggression against Ukraine. This represents an important milestone and sends a clear political message. There is no impunity for Russian aggression. The Netherlands remains firmly committed to work together with the Council of Europe, with Ukraine, and with other partners as we are preparing options for the operational phase of the Tribunal. And we are truly grateful for the good and intensive cooperation with the advanced team. Following up on our earlier offer to host the first skeleton phase of the Special Tribunal in the Netherlands, we have now identified a suitable location in the international zone of The Hague, taking into account the timelines envisaged by the Council. As we are still working on a number of issues such as security, legal, financial aspects, we will disclose the exact location at a later stage. But in a letter to you, Secretary General Berset, earlier this week, the Mayor of The Hague expressed the full support of the municipality of The Hague for the establishment of the Special Tribunal on the crime of aggression against Ukraine and for the next steps towards its operational functionality. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. As you know, the meeting will now continue without the press. I now refer you to the draft agenda for our meeting. I would remind you that at the same